Hiya, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Right, today is part 3 of Project Hitch for this here pig. Today I'm going to be dealing with the straight sections, which we did the other day, and I've worked out a way, as I'm making this up as I go along pretty much. It's not being built to any plan, but I've come up with a demon way to make a flat hitch upon which I can bolt a ball on the back to drop a trailer on for the bike. So today deals with what I'm going to do with that, how I'm going to bend tubing without a pipe bender and make it safe, and what I'm going to utilise from the scrap pile. So stick around, stay tuned, see what happens. Alright, so you've seen these bits before. This is just some black paint over the crappy weld, good strong weld but crappy weld, and the bolts through. So that's the heads which bolt onto these luggage rails. So these luggage rails on the back of the bike, which you know what these are. Anybody with a Bandit's got some of them. And what I've done is weld these tabs on. So that was in part 1. Just welded those on, and then in part 2-inch was about, whoops, earthquake. Part 2 was about making these so that they bolt on and then come aft. Now that so far is all good. Everything's working there. Now the section down here, what I've done is scuff off the chrome because I'm going to be welding on this later on. It was how, when these come back at a 45-degree angle and the front one comes back at a lesser angle, how to then turn that upright or wherever it needs to be so that you can bolt a flat hitch and drop a trailer on it. That was the remit. So what I come up with was, in the grand order of things, I wanted to do this out of scrap. So in with this old stuff that I rescued from the shop fit is these shelf supports. Quite simply, so that makes a bit of sense, that's a clothing rail from the shop, and they quite simply go like that, and then that end hooks into a bracket that bolts to the wall. So effectively you get a rail that you can hang jackets, levers on and stuff like that. So using, as I did, I rescued about, as you can see, shed loads of them. So what I've done is I've cut the brackets off and come up with these bits. Now that's pretty straightforward, and you'll see shortly what the plan is. I'm going to put 2 of those stacked, one on the other, across the back, but the remit is to get that upright like that. At the moment, if you slot them onto the poles, they're at that angle, they need to be at that angle. So best way to do it, I considered cutting these off or twisting them, but that's just going to make them collapse because they're box section, about probably 1.5 mil. I don't know what that is. That's probably sort of, I don't know, 12 gauge, and that's definitely going to be no chance you can twist that. It will just snap. So being as these are nicely welded on by a proper weldist, not like me, I'm going to use that, and quite simply the task is to bend them like that. Now that was bended just by heating the tube and bending it in a ring spanner. Now those of you who've never seen that before, I'll show you in a minute. So quite simply what happens then, that comes down, it then bends straight. So you've then got a straight piece, and you can slide that on to the end, and once it's slid on, wherever it stops there, you can weld it. And then the top one comes down at the same angle, and you just bend it the correct angle so that effectively they come down and then they come along together, and I can weld them across the back both sides. So today's task for part 3 is to bend these. Now this is a test piece, just a bit of scrap I was messing about with at the beginning, and I've bent that, and I'll talk to you in a minute about heating and quenching and heating and cooling and brittleness of metals and so on. But that, although it's got a kink in it there, I'm going to deal with that afterwards. I haven't got a pipe bender, and this is mild steel chromed, so it's perfectly okay to bend it if you use the ring spanner method. So I'll show you how to do that now. Stick around, stay tuned, show you what happens. Alrighty, let's give it some heat. Just a quick one. When you got a blow lamp, you can see it there. This section here, this point, this brighter point in the centre of the flame, the tip of that bright point in the centre, that is the hottest part of the flame. So that's the part that we want to just play on the tube. I mark the tube where I want to bend it, roughly, and just play that point in one position just for a minute, and it'll start to change colour. You want to use a propane on this. If you're going to bend thin tubing, a nice butane blow lamp's fine. If you start using oxyacetylene, it's so hot you'll just burn holes in it. So the colour we're looking for is a bright cherry red before we can bend it. It's only 1mm tubing, so it won't resist too much. So as you start to get it bright orange in one point, just rotate the tube slightly, and the flame, the excess flame that's licking around the tube, will keep it hot. Okay, so you're using a ring spanner. I've just clamped a ring spanner in the vise or on the bench that is just a little bit bigger than the tube, so it allows the tube to move about, but it won't jam up when I start bending it. This is my third hand. Okay, we'll start bending it shortly. And just gently align the tube so it's going to bend the way you want it to bend, not cockeyed. There we go. And first of all, it'll be quite stiff. Just lift it out. I'm going to spread the bend over about 2.5–3 inches. Just reheat that section there. Now obviously with a pipe bender you get a perfect bend in it, but I haven't got a pipe bender even. So this method works just as well. So as it starts to get hotter, just lift it out each time and spread the bend. It's going to kink, you're going to get a proper little fold in the centre, but I'm just going to weld that fold up afterwards to make it stronger. Now, just a quick so as that's bending, just hit it back into shape. As that starts to kink, just bash the sides back in so it makes it tube-like. Keep the fold in the centre before that cools off too much. Let's get that heated back up. Now this one is, that's the guide, that's the angle I'm going for, so you can just keep offering it up, bend it a little bit more. Till it's where you want it. Right, so there we are. That is the finished article. All I've done is beaten it back in when it started to kink. And then you've got a neat fold in the centre. They're not all as neat as that one, I'm sure, but I'm just going to weld that when it's done. I'm going to weld across that and all of them, and that will make it stronger. And it's going to be triangulated anyway. So there we are. Incidentally, when you do this, don't quench this in water. You know, you finish with it, it's all red. Don't stick it in cold water. Spectacular, but it's wrong, because what that will do is carbonise the steel and it will make it brittle, so then it will crack. Just let it cool naturally. Probably take about half an hour to go completely stone cold, but that's correct then. You haven't carbonized the steel, and it will stay nice and strong as it is extruded tubing. It will last. So there we are, there's one. Let's just do 3 more, see what they come out like. Okay, right, now with these shelf supports now being a perfect 90 degree to the bar, putting them side by side gives me roughly 90 degrees on the frame. So they'll go up as close as possible like that. Then once I've measured what I need to do on the van outside, I've got a tow hitch, so I'm going to measure the height of the tow hitch from the ground so it sits at the right height, otherwise the trailer will be up or down. So once I've got the exact height, they will then effectively work together wherever they go, wherever is the correct point. So they'll sit with another pair of these underneath like that, effectively making double that height. All that will just get welded together. Weld those round. Obviously at the moment everything's loose and adrift, so I can adjust it. And I've just discovered I've run out of weld gas, so I can't weld anything tonight. But that's got the engineering correct, if you wish. That's got the basics right. So that now sits. They will be as well. They will be pulled parallel like that, welded in place, and then the excess cut off. So they'll come down along and stop at the brace at the back, however far it is. Now after that, just some cross braces. These will be welded in there and in there to give them strength. And then a couple more of these, which I can cut open and fit in there and weld to there. So I'll cross brace them, and across the back here as well, it will be braced to stop the whole thing flexing. If it needs to come further back, I can have the tow bar as far back as here, if it works out. I haven't designed that part yet. Today was all about designing those arms to make sure that they come back, they sit parallel, everything's going to work out right. Even if the bar hitch is back here, then I can cross brace like that and make the whole thing like a wheelie bar, completely strong. So there you go. Can't do anything more, I'm afraid, which is really annoying. I wanted to crack on with this tonight, but I've got to weld up these kinks, grind them out. You can still do this. This doesn't have to be a rat bite thing. Although I'm painting it matte black and Wellard, it doesn't matter. If you wanted to make a nice job of this, you could weld it up, file it out, send it away for chrome. So you could have a nice chrome tube tow bar for yourself, for a cruiser bike or whatever, but it's going to be rat, so it doesn't matter to me. So I'll weld these up when I get some more gas. Got to weld across the top there. I've got some tips from my mate Dan Bethel about welding. Going to try and improve the finish of the welding as much as the strength is there. It's got to be a little bit prettier. So I'm going to get my little stack of dimes, as Dan puts it, to get it nice and pretty looking, and then it will just be bolted through as well, much like the top are. So the whole thing will be bolted together and welded together. So I think coming back here will give me the ability to cross brace that with a couple of tubes, so the whole thing is strong as you like. And that's about the ride height. It doesn't really go much lower than that, so I can check it out, or I could bow the piece of steel, whatever. Loads to do yet, I'm designing it as I go. So there we are. So there is the sum total of today's fun and games. 4 bends in the tubing, set up the design the way I'm going to do it, and I've got the plan to move forward. Just pretty much making it up as I go. So there you go. That's pretty much it. All I needed was a ring spanner. If you use a ring spanner that's just a little bit bigger than the tubing, it gives it room to move a bit so it doesn't jam, and then you can just hammer it back into shape. Any of the engineers out there are cringing at this, but I don't care, because this is Delboy's garage and I just do it as I go along. Okay, that tubing will be strong. I will weld in the crease that formed, and that will make it strong so it won't open up, and it'll all get cross braced anyway, so the whole thing's going to share the load of pulling the trailer. Just using what I have, some old shop fit steel which was going to go up scrap, and it's pretty easy to do. As you can see, if I can do it, you can do it. Just a case of welding it strong enough. I'm bolting it together as well as welding it, so it's belt and braces, it's not going to come apart. So I'm going to get some weld gas. That's all for part 3. Thanks for tuning in and watching Delboy's Garage. I appreciate all of the support. I appreciate all the subscribers. It is amazing how much of you seem to love the rubbish that I put out. Okay, thanks ever so much. Ride safe. See you next time.